Greetings, welcome to Pluck Pro's Complete Guitar Course for Beginners. I'm Antonio Melendez and this is my special guest assistant, Vincenzo Cangolosi. Today we're going to be doing some jamming basically. We're going to teach you how to write a melody, we're going to teach you how to improvise, and how to have a cool jam session with a buddy. Okay, the next thing you're going to need as a foundation for this is your strumming pattern and the chords. And it is A minor, E major, E major, A minor. Then D minor, A minor, E major, A minor. And we're going to strum the pattern for you. We'll go one complete cycle and then we'll stop. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that was the complete cycle, and get really familiar with that. The strumming pattern specifically is I'll just stay on the A minor chord, and it's just down, up, flat, up, down, up. And it's something we covered in the previous lesson. Again. Okay, that's the cycle, and we're doing 2 complete cycles before we change chords. So that's the pattern we're doing. Okay, so now what we need to do is to have either you or your counterpart, your buddy, whoever you're going to be jamming with, know both of you guys need to know the chord progression, and both of you should be able to play the scale equally. If one of you guys just plays a little more fluid, that's okay. And what you're going to do is, as we improvise, which improvising is making up riffs and making up solos as somebody else is playing the rhythm, you want to develop the ability to switch back and forth between the two players. So one person plays the rhythm for a certain amount of time while the other person jams or improvises, and then you switch. The key to switching is making sure that you switch at the same time, or that as the improviser, that you play certain notes to kind of like put a period at the end of your musical sentence. You want to kind of end your phrase with something that's kind of saying, hey, I'm done. And you'll be able to do that the more and more you play. And I'll help you do that as we go along in our lessons. Okay, so we're going to come up with a melody now. The melody is going to be in the key of A minor, so again, that's why we know our scale. And I'll start with the open position scale. That's going to be the first part of my melody. I'm just making this up as we go, so you can do it. And all I did is E, F, G, A. Okay, so listen to how it starts. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's what's called a pickup. What I did was I picked up a few beats before he even started playing, and picked up with those few notes. And I actually land this note, the A, as soon as he starts. So it'll go 1, 2, 3. And so as soon as he starts strumming, I hit that A, and that gives me a little kind of like a push into my song. It kind of throws you into the groove of it. Okay, so that's what we're going to start with. Okay, all I did, and again, I'm just improvising this, and none of it is premeditated. I just want you to see that if you don't think too much, you can just flow these music notes out as long as you know your patterns and your scales. So I went. Then I slid up to the C. Now you notice that note I'm ending on is an E. Well, it sounds good with the chords because he's playing the E chord at the same time that I'm playing that E note. They go perfectly together, the E chord and E note. So that's placing that E in a specific spot to make sure that it sounds best. And you'll hear, I'll explain how you do that other times. Okay, so here we go. What I did right there was, and all I did was E, F, E, D, F, E. Here we go again. Okay, and all I did was I come down and connected from the 5th fret down to the open position. And now, so what I want you to get from this, you don't have to copy specifically note by note what I'm doing. What I want for you, and you can use it as a guideline, so you can use that as much as you'd like, but I really want you to make it your own. I don't want it to be just like something you copy from me. Of course, at first you can do that, that's fine. But as you play it more and more, I want you to feel free to change some notes. Hold some notes longer, hold some shorter, cut them out completely. It's really all about you making it your own and being creative and spontaneous on the spot with your music. Okay, so we're going to continue on through the rest of the chord progression. What I did to make it sound fluid and to make it match the chord progression is every time he changed a chord, I made sure to land on a note that was in that chord. Right now I'm pretty much sticking with the root notes of each chord. When he plays a D minor, I'm playing the note D. When he plays a E major, I'm playing the note E. When he plays an A minor, I'm playing the note A. So they fit perfectly together. That's one of the secrets of an improviser, of someone who just creates. And it's also a secret that songwriters use, whether they're doing it consciously or not. Most songs that sound good are doing that at some point. You don't have to always do it. It's anything artistic, there's never really set rules. It's kind of like what works and what sounds good, but you can always break free of those rules or guides and do something completely different. So we'll do that again, and I'll show you where I'm lining up, and I'll try to call it out while we're playing, okay? The E. There's the A. Here's the D. There's the A. There's a G sharp. Okay, now that G sharp wasn't the root note of the chord E, but if you play an E chord and you look at the notes there, if you see that an E chord contains three notes: E, G sharp, and B. So that G sharp, if you play in your E major chord, it's the first finger. It's right there. That G sharp is part of the E chord. Now, it's not in the open scale, so you may be feeling a little confused. You're like, well, the open scale goes open 2, open 1, 3. There's no 1 there. Well, that's right. There's not a 1 in the open scale. But because the key of E major, that chord that we're using, has it, that makes it okay to use. And you can use this one too. That's a G sharp also, so we could go. So when he plays an E chord, it matches perfectly with it. It's one of the chord tones. Likewise, you can use the third note, which is the B. So you could go, that's another note that is in the E major chord. If you land on that, when he's on that chord, it's going to sound nice and tight. It's going to sound fluid. So experiment with that. It's really good if you have somebody to play with, so you can kind of coach each other. It's a really good exercise to just try to find those notes. So here's a good exercise I want you to try. From the top, I want you to hit each note at the beginning of each chord. So for example, A is our first chord, then E, then A, and then D, then A, E, A. So there's only three notes we're using: E, A, and D. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to A, then D, back to the A, then to the E, then back to the A. So all I'm doing is just hitting that note, and it's really a good exercise to do because since you only have one note to play with, you really need to be creative with when you play it, how long you play it for, and how many times you play it. Watch how playing it slightly different each time will give it a big change. And what I want you to notice is the rhythm in which I'm playing this. One time I'll play it, and then another time just something different. I'm just making it up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so practice that. Play along with it and play that one note. Then find the next note and choose between those two. For example, in the A minor chord, we have the A and we also have this C. So A minor consists of the note A, C, E. So we have A, C. Then the E major consists of E, G sharp, B. So we'll play E, B. So for the A minor, I'm going to go. And then to the E, I'll hit that E and the B. Okay, so just those notes from the top. 2, 3, 4. Back to the A. Okay? Now, all I'm doing is hitting two notes that are part of the chord and varying them rhythmically. That's the cool part about doing this exercise. You really have to be creative. And all I'm using is those two notes. So now I'm going to add the third note. So in the A minor chord I have A, C, and E. Then in the E chord I have E, B, and G sharp. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so again, 3 notes per chord, that's it. I'm using a total of 8 different notes. Same as a scale, but they're not actually in order like the scale. So it's really easy to come up with stuff like this as long as, you have the foundation of knowing that scale. So make sure you know that scale really well. Okay, now we're going to move on to just improvising. I'll kind of use a idea like what we were just doing, something similar, but it's not going to sound exactly the same because this is all about improvising and just making stuff up. We're going to do the cycle, one complete cycle, then we're going to switch. And you'll notice how we switch. It's just going to be pretty smooth and clean. If not, sorry about that, but we'll do it again and we'll get it right, okay? This is always something that's trial and error, and when you're jamming with somebody, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just having a good time. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that's basically, we went back and forth. I soloed first through the whole progression. He soloed, and I soloed again. It's really good to practice sections of it. If you have a really good guitar buddy, somebody to jam with, somebody that's just patient, that's right at the same level as you, it's really good to get together with them and just practice little sections like that together. Practicing just an A minor chord, and then you try the notes that sound good with it. Just try an E major chord. And then just try a D minor chord. And then so forth. And just get the groove and get that, know what you're going to want to do for each chord. Experiment with notes Sometimes it'll sound good, sometimes it'll sound bad. And just feel free and relax while you're doing it. Okay, so again, Antonio Melendez, Vincenzo Cangelosi, thank you for checking out Plus Pro's Complete Guitar Course for Beginners, and stay tuned for the next lesson, which will be improvising in a different key, in a different style. Thanks again.